Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Johanna B. Moore. Welcome to the Holiday Fix. This is a 5-day challenge that I've opened to the public for free. And the webinar today is how to coast through the holidays with joy, not stress. And we'll go through a little webinar to talk so that I can teach you a little bit of the basics of how I get through pretty much anything, but especially the holidays. And we will have 4 more days to the challenge where you'll get a daily email that has a guided meditation and a thought to think about, an inspirational thought to think about for the holidays that'll get you started. And I think, a lot of the things that I'm talking about today are things that really transformed my perspective on myself, my focus, and what's bothering me and what's not bothering me, and really transform my life. And I'm so excited to share it with you. And I think that after this webinar, plus a couple of days of practicing, I think that most people will be set for the month. And I just wanted to say that this is actually a program that I'm offering to you for the entire rest of the year, for the next 2 months. And we'll talk about it at the end. But if you feel like you get to the end of 5 days and you want more help, then that is totally something that's available to you. And I would be happy to see you there. So let's begin. I believe that all women should know how to ditch distracting negative thoughts, create stability, security from within, and make decisions that powerfully spread more optimism and love and joy and growth and giving in this world. And I know that there are women on this call right now who completely align with that. And that is why I founded She Is Money in the So Money Society. And about this training, it's not for you if what somebody else does or thinks about you doesn't ever bother you. If you're not afraid that the money will run out, or that it already has and you didn't even notice, or if you're never swayed to eat, drink, or do something that you know you'll regret later just to feel better. All of these things are so common during the holidays, but of course they run our lives when it's not the holidays. But this training is going to rock if you feel nervous about being with your family for more than 2 days, if you're stressed about finishing your work over the holidays, if you feel guilty or anxious about taking that time away from work and just enjoying relaxing and just being, if you're worried that you're going to run out of money or go into debt this holiday season, or if you notice that there's cookies everywhere, people, need I say more? So basically, if you're an intelligent and ambitious woman coming into the holidays. So if you're ready for a no fluff, no BS training, let's get started. I'm Dr. Johanna B. Moore. A little bit about me. I'm a triple board certified physician. I'm a regional medical director and a physician leader in the area. I'm a retired NCAA varsity team captain in swimming at The Ohio State University. Go Bucks. I am an NASM certified personal trainer. I'm a mindfulness and meditation teacher. I'm a life coach and a success strategist. I'm the mother of twins, step humans, and fur babies. And of course, I'm the founder of She Is Money. That's a mouthful. And I don't tell you this to impress you. I tell you to impress upon you that you can do a lot of things and still be happy and sane and not burned out. And I can't say that I always felt this way. In fact, 6 or 8 months ago, I didn't. And it's definitely an ebb and flow and a constant everyday battle to make sure that you're mastering your mind. And I also want to tell you all this because I know that the type of woman who is here listening to this webinar also has a very long list of credentials and amazing things that she does every day, because you are intelligent and you are ambitious. And I know that you're just like me. You love to get more titles. So here's the deal though. Because I am a physician scientist, I have done a lot of research in my day. In fact, I have almost 10 published articles at this point, and I'm not in academics. I just have done it during my training and also a little bit after, actually in private practice as well, because I really like it. In scientific research, we go through great lengths to separate the data from the bias. We make sure that we have controls. We make sure that we have other people look at our papers and review them and make sure that there isn't anything that we're missing, like anything that our point of view is causing the actual facts to get lost. And sometimes papers even get relinquished from the public, domain because they found out later that there was some sort of bias. But even the most successful researchers rarely take that superpower home with them and apply it to their own lives. What would your life be like if you were able to distill those facts from the interpretation and just solve the equation? What would it feel like if you could get rid of all the drama? I find that the best way to do this is through something that I call the So Money method. This is a framework that we use in the society mostly, but I talk about it sometimes when I talk about success in general. And the So Money method has 3 parts. The first part is believe. You need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in what you're doing, and you need to believe in where you're going. The second part is clarity. You need to have clarity in where you're going, how you're doing it, and how that's all going to fall in place. So you need to clarify that. And the third thing is live. You need to live all the things that you're trying to do. You have to daily practice what you're trying to get, what you're trying to achieve, how you're trying to live. So believe, clarify, and live. Today, we're going to mostly talk about believe, and we'll talk about live a little bit at the end as we talk about the rest of the holiday fix. Okay, so one of the best ways to rock this season is to know these 3 concepts as you approach each possible challenge. The first concept is you need to separate the facts from how you're interpreting them. And that's really based on my experience as a researcher, is separating the science from your story. The second component is to know that you cannot change events that already happened. It seems simple and it makes sense, but there are so many times in our lives where we think that we can change a circumstance that already happened, or we worry about that circumstance that already happened, and we live in the past because of that. And the other thing is that it's basically impossible to get another person to do what you want. I mean, I can teach you all of the skills that you need in order to influence people. You can beg, you can cry, you can scream, you can force them, you can use fear. But in the end of the day, it's their decision to do what you want. And so that's something that's very, very challenging to accomplish. And the other thing is, on the flip side of that, is that I don't know if it's really appropriate for you to try to get somebody to do what you want. And the third thing is that you have complete agency to enjoy this time of being stressed or overwhelmed or anxious. And whether you're talking about the holidays or you're talking about your life in general, I believe that we all have so much opportunity that we don't even know is out there for us. And especially women, we don't realize that no matter what room you're in and no matter where you go, you have an opportunity to completely fill that space. Fill it with who you are as an individual, as a mother, as a daughter, as a friend, whatever you believe is your calling. And I just think that if you can master or even understand these 3 basic components, that that gives you such a chance to be able to do whatever it is you want, experience whatever it is you want, and share that with the world. That's why it's so important for me to tell you about this. Okay, so how to separate the science from the story. What you do is you take any event, a circumstance, a person in your life, and you just describe it. And maybe it's easier to write it down, say it out loud, because sometimes when you say it out loud, you realize that it sounds a little weird. And you ask yourself, how much of this story is my interpretation and how much of it is pure data? If an unbiased someone experienced the same thing right next to me, would he or she agree that that's really what happened? If you pass by a tree and a bird's egg falls out of the tree or a leaf falls off of the tree, is that really what happened? Did the leaf suddenly come to life and pull itself from the tree and tell the tree that it hated him and then fell off the tree? You know, probably not. It probably just fell off the tree. Now, when you truly separate your thoughts and your beliefs from the circumstance, then you guys, it's just a math problem. All you have to do is solve it. You just look at the facts and you decide what to do. And I know that there are people on this call who like to teach and help people with money. And just imagine how it would feel if you looked at your finances as if they were just numbers. How much better would that make you feel? How much less stress would that cause if you could just unbiased look at it and solve the equation? So when you change your perspective to serve the way you want to feel, what you want to experience, that makes solving the math problem even easier than if you just look at it point blank. And it's so hard to believe it, but the story you created is just that. It's a story. You can make it anything you want to believe. When you believe something else, that's when it becomes a reality in your life. And it sounds simple, and it sounds kind of weird, like destiny is involved, but really this is just a matter of fact. This is what happens is when you believe something, you have emotions that support that, and you have actions that support that, and then your results support it as well. The thing is, that's super hard to change your emotions, to change your belief. Why is it so hard? Because of your own mind. Okay, so knowing these rules are going to help. And these are the rules that I talked about in the beginning. The bad news is that you cannot change events that already happened, and it's basically impossible to get other people to do what you want. So don't forget that. You can't change a past circumstance, and you can't change another person's opinion or desire or emotion, nor are you responsible for them. The good news is that you have complete agency to enjoy this time instead of being stressed out, overwhelmed, anxious, and nobody or anything else, not any person, not anybody else has the agency to do that. Nobody can make you feel stressed out, overwhelmed, and anxious. Only you can, only your thoughts do. And the truth is, your mind will do everything in its power to stop you from changing any processes or doing anything that doesn't directly result in sleeping, eating, drinking, or sex. Your mind is basically built to keep you alive, keep you safe, help you have babies, and save energy. And so anything else that you try to do with it, it's not going to want to do it for you. It's going to say, nope, I'm good. I'm just going to stay in my cave and stay comfortable here, safe, and not trying to do anything exciting or anything hard. And we all know that the fact of the matter is, especially in this day and age, that hard things in the end are good for you. Challenges in the end are what make you stronger, grow, become more intelligent, learn new things, and expand even more into that space that I was talking about before. So sometimes you have to just stand up to your brain. Okay, so when you're tackling any circumstance, you need to approach it with some guidelines. So you see any person, you interact with anything, an event, and keep these 4 things in mind, and it'll help you ground you so that you have some kind of path in order to get through it. The first one is attention. Pay attention to exactly what it is you want to pay attention to. Are you actually paying attention to the deciding person? They always talk about this when you're negotiating, like don't negotiate with somebody who can't decide in the end. So just consider if the subject is really the subject that's making the difference for you. The second thing is your intention. This is based on your values. It's sort of like a goal, but it's more based on your values, your desires, and who you are and how you believe the world is. So what is your intention when you're looking at a certain object or a certain person? For instance, if you're having an argument with your sister over the holidays, and it's so hard to let go of that argument and it's just getting more and more heated, ask yourself, what do I really want in this situation? How do I want to feel about her? What kind of a holiday do I want to experience? And when you ask yourself that intention, just point blank, you realize that a lot of times that fight that you're trying to get through, trying to be right, trying to blame it on her, doesn't mean anything because all you really want is to give her a hug. And so keeping that intention in mind, what's my end goal? What do I really want if I'm going to play the long game here? The third thing is your attitude. I always teach people that the best attitude to have is a playful, friendly curiosity. You really can't get yourself into much trouble if you have that attitude. And so I find I used to try to keep it open, but really my rule is just have a friendly curiosity about anything that you're paying attention to. And then the last thing is the strategy. So you come up with whatever strategy you need in order to solve the science. So attention, intention, attitude, and strategy. Now I'm going to go through the 4 top subjects that people get stressed out about over the holidays and in life in general. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the perspective that most people have and a perspective that I've learned over the years that really helps me to overcome a lot of my stress and overwhelm regarding these subjects. The first one is time. I don't have time. That's probably the most common thing that I hear when I ask people how they're doing or what's going on, is that they're stressed out, they're overwhelmed, and they don't have time. And I'm going to say that I also am guilty of this, and this is something that I work on so often. But the thing is that time is really a construct of the human race. It's not really a thing. And it was made more valuable during the agricultural and then industrial ages as productivity became important. So imagine before the agricultural age, really the only reason why time would be of the essence is if you were on a hunt and it was taking a long time and you were getting more and more and more hungry as time went by. But besides that, it really didn't matter how long it took you to do a certain thing. But now time is so, so important. And our perception of time, though, it doesn't depend on the seconds or minutes or hours or days. It depends on our focus and it depends on our thoughts. And you probably already know this. I mean, if you think about your day at work, and some days when you're super focused and energized and feel great, then you can get a lot of stuff done in the same amount of time that maybe another day you might just stare at the computer all day and maybe stare at the wall. I definitely know that I have had both situations in the same amount of time. And the biggest time suck is really distracting negative thoughts. And that's the day when you're like, I should just go home because I got this email from my boss, or I got this call from my boyfriend and I'm done. Like my head has exploded and I'm done. And so the most common negative, distracting thoughts are overwhelm, anxiety, worry, regret, judgment, confusion, not knowing, and people pleasing. Okay, so money. Money is a means to an end. It allows us to buy things, experiences, time, and we exchange it for things that we think are valuable. But money has nothing to do with our own value or our own worth as individuals. And that is the biggest mistake that most people, particularly women, I've noticed, but men as well, make about money, is that all that money is an exchange for something that that person thinks is valuable for what they need done. For instance, the only reason why your boss pays you what he pays you is because he believes that your work is valuable or more valuable than what he pays you. And it has nothing to do with you as a person, and it has nothing to do with what an amazing person that you are. It only has to do with the job that he needs done or she needs done. And that's so important to understand. And if you just separate all of those negative thoughts that are exactly the same as in the past when we were talking about time, then you'll start to be able to do the math about what money is all about and stop blaming yourself and stop feeling fear and worry about money. Okay, energy. Energy presents itself in lots of forms. It could be sound waves, light waves, and the most common form that I talk about is electricity. And that's because that's how your body has energy, is basically electricity. And it's harvested and maintained mostly by calories. So what if you believed that instead of energy coming from how much you slept or how much you ate, that you realize that energy actually comes from your thoughts and your emotions? I'll give you a great example. When I started fasting, I was really worried about missing breakfast because all of our lives, people told us, if you don't get breakfast, you're not going to have enough energy for the rest of the day. And so I was really nervous. Like, I think I'm not going to have enough energy if I skip breakfast. And then I started reading into it, and I realized that there's actually a cycle that the body goes through when it stops getting calories, particularly carbohydrates. And actually, people gain more energy and more clarity even if they're not eating, especially if they're not eating. And this makes historical sense, because if you think about it, going back to the caveman example, if you're a caveman and you're trying to hunt down for food, if you already didn't have any food and were already hungry, how could you possibly maintain the mental clarity and the physical energy to hunt down an animal? So it only makes sense historically that you would have some sort of reserve that allows that to happen. So, it just goes to show you that really the fact that energy comes from your own thoughts and your own emotions can just completely changes your whole dynamic about eating or sleeping or any of that. And I know that when I finally realized this and understood this, all of a sudden, I didn't feel tired anymore in the mornings. And it wasn't like I'd changed anything. It wasn't like my sugar levels had, recalibrated or anything like that. It was just my perspective of energy. Okay, so the last one, I think we're on the last one, is love. I believe that love is a form of energy. And some people who are religious may consider that love is synonymous with God. We all think that we need it, and we do crazy, weird things to have it, super weird things. But the truth is that you can only grow and attract it if you create it for yourself first. And that love is always there. And it's part of who you are as you feel that space. And the biggest things that ruin love are these negative thoughts. Because if you're overwhelmed, anxious, if you're judging yourself or somebody else, or if you're people pleasing, then you can't allow that real love to come forth because you're just trying to convince somebody else to feel a certain way for you. Okay, so that's most of what we're going to talk about today. I just want to focus a little bit for a few more minutes on live. So we talked about how to believe. We talked about what your thought perspective should be. And I want to talk a little bit about how I teach living in the society. The first thing is writing down your thoughts. If you feel confused, if you feel like you have some really strong emotions, the best thing to do is to just write down everything you're feeling and everything you're thinking. And it's amazing. Just the act of writing it down makes things feel a little bit better. And the other thing is that when you write it down, then you're allowing yourself to look at the list of things that you've written down and to pilfer through them and to figure out exactly what's going on. And after a while, I find that in my journaling, I see patterns of what I'm thinking about. And I realize that there's one common theme that all of your thoughts are coming from. So if you believe that, if you have perfectionist tendencies, that overlying idea that you have to get everything right and otherwise you're not valuable is going to seep into every other thought you have, no matter what you do, whether it's money, whether it's love, all of those concepts. The second thing that we talk about is talking. Even if you're talking to yourself, saying it out loud. I mean, I don't know if anybody on this call has ever experienced this, but sometimes I've said something out loud to my husband and thought to myself, I wish I could take that back because that sounded way better in my mind. And that's where coaching comes along, is that whether you're self-coaching, whether you're getting help from a friend or a family member, or whether you're actually getting coached from someone who's had training like me, you realize that talking it out really just helps a lot. And the last thing is something that I feel very strongly about that really has changed my life, and that's meditation. And I don't like teaching meditation on its own, but I believe that short bursts of meditation every day really changes your focus. And it's just like a tiny bit of time during your day that, number one, feels good. I mean, to me, it feels like a bubble bath for your brain. And there's actually chemicals that explain why it feels that way. But the other thing is that it really is a moment in your life where you are focusing only on your thoughts. And we really don't do that very often, just sitting in silence and trying to pilfer through all of that shit. And so I strongly believe in meditation, and most of the meditation that I teach is based on mindfulness-based stress reduction. But I also teach some meditation that was founded by the Silva method and some other different types of meditation that I find to be helpful when you're thinking about actual goal-oriented meditation. So those are the three things that I focus on. And the really cool thing that I wanted to say in the final minutes about meditation is that the research is just burgeoning and blooming right now when it comes to meditation. And that's why, for me, I find that I can hang my hat on it, because there's scientific evidence that is proving how amazing meditation, what people have known for thousands and thousands of years in other cultures, we're starting to be able to put data to. And a lot of it has to do with tests and studies that use functional MRIs. So it's so cool. And what's even cooler about that is that the old notion that you have to meditate for 45 minutes or an hour or more every day, really, people are starting to debunk that. And there are studies out right now that say that an average of 12 minutes or an amount of 13 minutes is actually enough for you to get significant benefit from meditation. And I do know that there's some laboratories, particularly the Huberman Lab out of Stanford, who are studying to see if you can meditate as much as 3 or 4 or 5 minutes and still get benefit from that. And definitely people who are more seasoned meditators, they definitely get benefit out of that. And they're trying to find out if newcomers, new people who are just learning how to meditate still get that value out of it. But I just think it's so cool that, something that really takes only a few minutes can help you actually literally change your brain. So that's it. The Holiday Fix is a 5-day challenge that we're doing right now. It is basically the first 5 days of a program that I run over the holidays. And it's sort of like your way to be able to start living these concepts and to get a little help from me. So for the next 4 days, you'll get an email from me, and it'll have a short mindfulness-based meditation audio guided by me. They're about 13 minutes. And as we move forward, they may be a 13-minute plus a 7-minute bout of silence for you to practice. But most of them are basically 13 minutes. And then the second thing is a daily short inspirational thought to consider that I think if you read it and think about it before your meditation, that could be helpful. And then the last thing is the Holiday Fix Toolkit, which is basically this webinar in toolkit form where you can write on it, think about it. It has a little bit more about my perspective, and that's it. So for the next 4 days, I hope that you'll practice and try it out and see if it makes a difference for you. And if it does make a difference for you, then I have the Holiday Fix Seasonal Edition to offer to you. It's $99, and you'll see it in the emails. I'll start to put in a little button in case anybody feels like they get to the end of this week and you feel like you're hooked. So I originally wanted to put it at a higher price point, and I argued with myself about my own self-worth and my own thoughts about myself and why I would send it out to the open for this price, especially because for the full seasonal Holiday Fix, I actually will have 2 office hour coaching sessions a week. So small group coaching for anybody who wants to show up, ask any questions. I will be there just waiting at my computer in case anybody needs any help. So I really I guess I argued with myself about that. But in the end, I realized that the only reason why I'm doing this is because I want to help you guys out. And I want to show you what I do because I'm super proud of it. I think it's so cool and I love it. And I wanted anybody who had any interest or any curiosity to be able to try it out. So there you have it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'm at JBM for Johanna B. Moore at sheismoney.com. And I am going to stop the recording just in case anybody would like to ask any questions or share or get coaching. So let me just stop the recording.